Okay, so the purpose of today's assignment is basically to explain the effects of drug addiction on the body and how it relates to crime, or does it relate to crime. So basically the definition of drug addiction, or any type of addiction, is a chronic relapsing brain disease that is characterized by compulsive drug seeking and use despite harmful consequences. It is considered a brain disease because drugs change the brain. They change its structure and how it works. So basically, drug addiction takes a big toll on the human body. So as you use a drug, your tolerance level can actually build up to the point where you need more of a certain drug to make you feel the same effect that you might have when you first started taking it. So as this tolerance builds up, your body starts becoming used to the drug, and as it changes your brain chemistry, it actually gets to a point where you're physically and mentally dependent on the drug, and you need it to function through every day. So basically something else that comes with addiction is withdrawal symptoms when you don't have the drug, or when you're trying to maybe break that addiction. So withdrawal symptoms can be anything from, vomiting and some physical ailments to depression, and it could lead to death, because without that substance in your body, a person can actually go into a withdrawal-induced seizure. So it could be really serious. Now, we have also seen that criminality and substance abuse have been linked for a long time. So there's a million different ways that you can link criminal acts to have a relation with drug abuse and drug addiction. So, we see driving under the influence, maybe domestic violence, robberies, things like that. So, we see that a lot of people in our country suffer from drug or maybe even alcohol addiction. So, we're not necessarily saying that if you're an addict, you're a criminal, but we see that there is a big linkage between the two. So, for example, DUIs. So, if you're an addict, a lot of times these people are using the drug, using the substance throughout the day, and it can easily alter the way your impulse control works and everything, so it's a dangerous situation when you're driving. So, with that being said, DUIs can be something that are linked between drug addiction and crime, because, as you know, someone under the influence of drugs or alcohol can be very dangerous behind the wheel of a car, and we prosecute that seriously by law. Also, a lot of times we see maybe theft or robberies in a drug addict. When you're using a substance to the point where you're highly addicted to it, that's, costing you money. And a lot of times we don't see that, people with drug addiction, sometimes they're not really coming from the most upper class situation, so they probably most likely don't even really have the money to be paying for the drugs. So you'll see sometimes that people will maybe rob, public places or businesses to get the money to buy the drugs, or it might be just personal between maybe people trying to, rob other people to get the drugs without having to pay for them. So we also see prostitution with drug addiction. So a lot of times men and women find themselves unable to pay for their drug addiction. We see estimates from the alcohol rehab website revealing that between 40 and 85% of all prostitutes are drug users or drug addicts. So basically, we see these street prostitutes selling sex to support their drug habits, and prostitution also makes you vulnerable to other violent crimes like rapes, assaults, because of their lifestyle, and a lot of them are unreported crimes because, as you know, prostitution is illegal. So anything that happens to a prostitute while he or she is working, they'll also get in trouble because they're working illegally. As far as my opinion, I do believe that drug addiction has a lot to do with crime. I believe that there definitely is a connection. I've seen drug addiction in my life personally, not to myself, but to people who I'm close to, and I don't think that everyone fully understands that it gets to a point where it's not just a mental thing that someone with a strong mind can overcome, but your body can become physically dependent on the drug, and it can be very serious, and it can change a person. If you look at a person before they became an addict and after or during their addiction, you can see that they can be two very different people. So it's definitely something to consider, and we definitely have a lot of crime that comes from drug addiction. So that's going to be it.